What is this feeling? I'm not used to winning. I feel you. Listen, guys. Listen. I told you, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Listen. You know what this win is? Listen, we got to take the small victories we can get because we're 5-5. You want to know what this win means for this team? You want to know what this win means for this team? You want to know what this win means for this team? Oh no, I'm going to look like a fool. I can't do it. Bowl game, baby. Bowl game.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man.
Happy holidays. Thanksgiving week. Whee! Hey, listen, if you can't get excited about this coming up weekend of college football, then you ain't a college football fan. This is the best week of college football every single year. Am I right or am I? Now, okay, listen, week one is always really, really great because it's week one and you've been waiting 8, 9 months, whatever, to see your college football team play. So yeah, week one is always great. There's always a couple of weeks during the season that has some really great games with top 10 matchups or whatever. But for my money, rivalry week, Thanksgiving weekend of college football is the best all-around weekend of college football year in and year out. If you're excited about the rivalry games and the big games coming up this weekend, give this video a thumbs up. Today I'm gonna do my top 10 for this week. I've been doing this video every Monday all season long. We're gonna keep it going today. Were there any losses in the top 10 last week? Maybe, depending on which top 10 you looked at, right? West Virginia did go down. Anyway, we'll get into the top 10 here in just a second. But good morning, no, it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube, and I'm in a great mood today. I love this week of college football. Happy holidays! Yeah, happy Thanksgiving and too. But hey, look here though, the schedule is going to be a little different this week because of Thanksgiving, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put the schedule up on the screen rather than reading it out, and then you can just pause the video or whatever so you'll know what the schedule is for this week, but there it is, so a little different. Don't forget the Patreon giveaways. We're giving away a jersey every single Friday here on the channel from now through Christmas. Gave the first one away last Friday. Congratulations again, Robert D. I've been in touch with him. I know what jersey he wants. We'll get it ordered for him without a problem. Yeah. Now, of course, no Friday live show this week. It's Black Friday. Lots of people got a lot of different things going on. Not going to do the live show this Friday. So we're going to give the jersey away this week on Wednesday. Every single Patreon member is eligible to win this jersey. Now, we always give away one jersey a month to a Patreon member every single month of the year. But starting last week through Christmas, we're going to give away a jersey every single Friday. I'm also going to live stream the Georgia Tech game. Not the game itself, but I will do a live stream during the Georgia Tech game for Patreon members. So that'll be the Patreon-only live stream for this month. That'll be this Saturday. That game's at noon. I hope all you Patreon members can join me for that stream. It should be a good game and a fun one to watch. If you're not a member of the Patreon page and you want to sign up, click the link in the description of this video that says want to support the channel and win a jersey. It'll take you over there. I would really appreciate it. But without any more ado, though, happy holidays. Let's get into the topic. Last week's top 10 up on the screen to give you sort of a reference point of where we started heading into this past weekend. And then, of course, we'll go through this week's top 10 and you'll see where we're at now. So here you go. There's last week's top 10. All right, we're going to start at number 10, work the way up to number 1. Here we go. Number 10 this week. The Ohio State Buckeyes moved them down one from last week. Overtime win over a bad Maryland team. Was this two teams playing without a coach? Pretty much. Urban Meyer's on the way out. Did you see this guy on the sidelines during that game? What an idiot. This guy looked like he was auditioning for one of those I've fallen and I can't get up commercials. I mean, every time they showed Urban Meyer on the sideline, something very serious was happening. I don't know what's going on. I mean, listen, this guy's done at Ohio State. Face it. I've been telling you guys that really since this domestic violence stuff broke 2 weeks before the season started. I said, well, that's it. This will be his last year. And I still feel that way. I think he's done at the end of this season at Ohio State. We'll see what happens to him on down the road. But come on. So they dropped down one spot from 9 to 10 after beating Maryland in overtime 52-51. And, of course, next week they got the big game coming up with Michigan. It is a home game for Ohio State. I know Ohio State fans still think they can win that game, even though they've had, of course, the disappointing loss to Purdue and a couple other just disappointing performances this year. But they are sitting there with the one loss. So, technically, they're still in it for Big Ten titles, playoffs, that kind of thing. I think it's a long shot for Ohio State at this point. Of course, I'll preview that game on Wednesday. Is that right? Yeah, Wednesday. Ohio State at number 10, though. All right, number 9. I broke my own rule here. Central Florida. I've had Central Florida at number 10 in this poll since the preseason, and I've been saying all year they're staying at number 10 until they lose a game, and they're not moving up no matter what. I have changed my mind. I think Central Florida is a top 10 team. I think 9 is a right spot to put them. They're undefeated. They've won how many games in a row now? They won, let's see, they went 14-0 last year, right? And what have they won? 11 games this year, 25 plus whatever they won the year before. I mean, so that, they've won a ton of games in a row. They beat a ranked team this past weekend in Cincinnati at home, 38-13. They deserve to be number 9 in my mind. I do not think they're making the playoff. That hasn't changed. That won't change. Their schedule nowhere near where it needs to be. And a lot of that's not their fault. I get it. They're trying to schedule the teams that they can. I'm not blaming UCF. I'm just saying the way things are set up now, UCF's not making the playoffs. That's just what it is, okay? So I do move them up one spot this week to number 9. I think they're better than Ohio State. And they played a lot better this past weekend, right? Ohio State barely escaped against an unranked Maryland. Central Florida dominated a ranked Cincinnati. I think this is fair. Central Florida, number 9. Number 8, I got the Corn Dogs. They were unranked in my poll last week. I've decided to move them back up to number 8. I have mixed feelings on the whole Ohio State thing. Obviously, I'm conflicted because they beat the hell out of my Georgia Bulldogs. But they do have 2 losses. And to me, the most important stat that you can look at, I mean, you could talk all you want about strength of schedule, FPI. Losses need to matter, and LSU has 2 of them. The Florida loss doesn't look like that good of a loss anymore in my mind. And even the Alabama game, they got shut out 29-0. So nothing very impressive there. Really, the best thing LSU has done this year is beat Georgia at home. Other than that, nothing really to be that impressed with about LSU, in my opinion. They beat Rice this last weekend 42-10. They got to play on the road in their last game of the regular season this week at Texas A&M. I don't think that'll be an easy game, and I'm going to preview this one tomorrow on Tuesday, but Texas A&M could win that game. This is not a gimme for LSU at all. Texas A&M is a dangerous team. Sort of up and down a little bit this year. New coach there with Jimbo Fisher. Anyway, I'll talk more about that tomorrow. But the Corn Dogs go from unranked to number 8 this week in the UNCLELOU poll. Number 7, Oklahoma. Another team that continues to win but disappoint you at the same time. They beat Kansas this past week, which is one of the worst teams in Division I year in and year out for the last 10 or 15 years, 55-40. You give up 40 points to an awful Kansas team. There's no excuse for that. That's embarrassing. That's humiliating. Congratulations, you fire Mike Stoops. That's the good news. Bad news is you still got all those same defensive players who can't tackle. They're always out of position. You're undersized up front. You're not fast enough. Your DBs aren't good enough. I mean, the list goes on and on and on with Oklahoma's defense. It's just terrible. There is not a worse defense in the top 10 than Oklahoma. There's not. Their defense is absolutely horrible. How's Ruffin McNeil working out? If you change his name to Stoops Jr., it's not working out too good. Kansas had 4 rushing touchdowns in this game against Oklahoma. They had only scored 9 rushing touchdowns the entire season. heading into this game. Just an embarrassment of a defense that Oklahoma is putting on the field week in and week out. And if that weren't bad enough, you got to go on the road this Friday to play West Virginia for a trip to the Big 12 title game. The winner of this game, Oklahoma and West Virginia, will make it to the Big 12 title game to take on, I think, Texas. Texas only has to beat Kansas this coming weekend to make the Big 12 title game, and they'll play the winner of Oklahoma and West Virginia. Big advantage for West Virginia. They're getting this game at home. I'll talk all about this game on either Wednesday or Thursday. But I've got them at number 7, Oklahoma. That moves you up one spot because of a loss. Of course, I had West Virginia ahead of you last week, and they lost, so they're out of the top 10 this week. But Oklahoma, number 7. All right, number 6, Washington State. And, man, this is a team that, listen, I'm either totally wrong about Washington State. Am I undervaluing the Pac-12? Am I putting too much stock in the fact that the Pac-12 is terrible? I haven't been giving Washington State any respect this season. I will freely admit that. Maybe I have been wrong. They keep winning and winning and winning and winning. How did they lose to Southern Cal? How is Washington State 10-1 and their only loss is to the worst Southern Cal team we've seen in a long, long time? A Southern Cal team that's probably not even going bowling, aren't they? Don't they have 5 wins, Southern Cal? I think so. You got to play Notre Dame this week. Mike Leach is a weirdo and a maniac, but you beat Arizona 69-28. I mean, that quarterback at Washington State, nobody talks about this guy. He's putting up huge numbers week in and week out. Of course, we've seen this a lot from Mike Leach offenses over the years, but Washington State, I've been saying for like the last month, they're going to lose another game. There's no way they finish with just the one loss, and then they just keep winning and winning and winning and winning. Now, they got to play Washington this week. It's a rivalry game. Washington, disappointing year, but they are a good team. I think this will be the best team that Washington State has played. Now, Washington hasn't always played up to their ability this year, and they're going to have to do that if they want to beat Washington State. And this is a home game for Washington State, too, but this game's on Friday, so I'll talk about it Wednesday or Thursday when I do this week's preview videos. But, yeah, Washington State this week, I have them at number 6. All right, and the top 5 is unchanged from last week, so I'll put it all up at the same time for you. There it is. Georgia at number 5 destroyed UMass, put 66 points up on them. Scored every single time we had the ball. Scored running, scored throwing, scored with the starting quarterback, scored with the backup quarterback, scored with the third-string quarterback. Just an absolute beatdown of an overmatched team in UMass. Rushed for 400 yards. Haven't we rushed for – I think we rushed for 300 yards in the 3 games before that. That's 369. No, it's 9 plus 4. Now, if you're in South Carolina, get your calculator out. But 9 plus 4, that's 1,300 yards Georgia's rushed for in the last 4 games. So Georgia is starting to look like the Georgia team we saw last year, at least offensively, right? Georgia got better and better and better and better as the season went along last year, particularly after that midseason loss or, I guess, late season loss to Auburn. Better and better and better and better and better there over the last month of the season. And that's what it looks like is happening again this year to me. Jake Fromm looks dialed in. Justin Fields had the best game of his career this past week. The running backs, it seems like it doesn't matter who we hand the ball off to. They're averaging 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. The defense, I do think, is still behind where our defense was last year. And to be honest, I don't think there's anything our defense can do to get to the level that our defense was at last year. If Georgia's going to go on any type of run like they had last year, they're going to have to lean more heavily on the offense than the defense, in my opinion. I don't think there's anything that Georgia can do. I don't think there's some sort of magic switch we can pull to suddenly develop a elite pass rush or to suddenly develop the ability to shut teams down who want to run up the middle. I think we're going to continue to struggle in those areas this year for personnel reasons. But I do think Georgia has the ability offensively to make up for that lack on defense. This is a theme I've been harping on since the offseason with UGA. I said I think the offense will be better than last year. I don't think the defense will be quite as good. So it's going to be a balancing act to see if the offense can help offset the drop back on the defense. And we're going to find out all about that both this week when we play Georgia Tech, who, of course, is going to try to run the ball down our throats, something we've struggled to stop at times this year. And, of course, the following week when we play Alabama in the SEC championship game. I do feel like we'll have to throw the ball a little more than normal in Alabama. But anyway, we'll talk all about that next week. But I've got Georgia at number 5. They play Georgia Tech this week. Number 4, I left Michigan there. They beat Indiana 31-20. An uninspired Michigan team really comes out and kind of just looked flat, laid an egg sort of against Indiana. Bright side is you didn't have to go to overtime to do it, like the coachless suck nuts. So you beat Indiana 31-20, and of course you're getting ready this week for the huge game at Ohio State. This game is huge for every possible reason. It's a rivalry game. Jim Harbaugh needs a win over Ohio State in the worst possible way. He's winless against Ohio State since he became the coach at Michigan. Michigan never won the division under Jim Harbaugh. That will change if they beat Ohio State this week. Michigan wants to make the playoffs. Lose to Ohio State this week, that's out the window in my opinion. Michigan wants to win the Big Ten. You lose to Ohio State this week, no chance to win the Big Ten. I mean, this game could not be any bigger. Playoffs, Big Ten title, rivalry game. 2 top 10 teams. I mean, I don't think you could overestimate the importance of this game. I actually think this game is more important for Michigan than it is for Ohio State. I know Ohio State wants to make the playoffs every single year, but they've made the playoffs a couple of times over the last few years under Urban Meyer. Even lucked up and won it once in, 2014 before getting shut out in the playoffs. Was 31-0. Jesus Christ, man, y'all are terrible. But I think Michigan needs this game. They have looked like the better team. Listen, if Michigan can't beat Ohio State this year, then you really have to ask yourself as a Michigan fan, are you ever going to beat Ohio State as long as Jim Harbaugh is there? If you can't do it this year, when are you going to do it? I've been high on Michigan all year. I've had Michigan ranked ahead of Ohio State the majority of the year. Michigan should be favored in this game, in my opinion. I haven't looked at the line yet. I will when I do the preview on Wednesday. Even though it's at Ohio State, Michigan has looked like the better team the majority of this year. But this game is going to be absolutely huge. But I've got the Wolverines this week again at number 4. Number 3 is Notre Dame. Impressive win over Syracuse. If you've been watching me over the last month or so, then you shouldn't have been surprised that they went out and whacked Syracuse 36-3. I've been telling you guys since about the first week of October, look at Notre Dame, look at what they're putting on the field, look at the product, look at their schedule. They're going undefeated, and they're making the college football playoff. Now here we are halfway through November. Notre Dame's sitting at 11-0, 1 win away from a perfect season, and a trip to the playoffs. The only thing stands in their way, a road trip to a terrible Southern Cal team. Notre Dame will be a huge favorite in this game. This will be a huge upset if for some reason Southern Cal were to knock them off. But it looks like, for all intents and purposes, Notre Dame is headed to the playoffs after they handle Southern Cal this coming weekend, which everyone expects them to do. Notre Dame fans are mad because I'm still saying they're going to lose round 1 of the play. I don't know what you want me to see. You want me to lie and say I think Notre Dame's the best team in America? I don't. I have people in the comment section, when are you going to start showing Notre Dame the respect they deserve? I've been showing Notre Dame respect since the first week of October when I've been trying to tell people they were going undefeated and making the playoffs. If that's not enough respect for you, then I honestly don't care. But if that's not enough respect for you, then I don't know what else to tell you, okay? I don't think Notre Dame would beat any of the top 6 teams. That includes Oklahoma, that includes Michigan, Georgia, Bama. I don't think they would beat any of those teams. That doesn't mean I think Notre Dame's a bad team. I've been telling you they're making the playoffs for 6-7 weeks now. So I don't get it, with the crying. I mean, you're crying like your priest touched you, and all I did was tell you Notre Dame's losing in the first round of the playoffs, which they are. So, but congratulations. It looks like you're going 12-0. Of course, you lose Georgia in the regular season next year. You may lose to Georgia in the playoffs this year. Hey, what if Notre Dame lost to Georgia 3 years in a row? Beat you in South Bend last year, Sanford Stadium, we annexed that place. What's the name of that? I don't even know. What's the name of that stupid field out there? Rudy Field? I don't know what the name of it is, but it's property of University of Georgia. Georgia owns that stadium, and Uncle Lou owns you until further notice. But we beat you last year. We're beating you next year in Athens. Do you really want to lose to Georgia 3 years in a row? You may get your wish. Anyway, Notre Dame this week, number 3. I lied. The top 5 did not stay the same. Bama at number 2! Yeah, type on that, Gumps. I really don't care. Listen, I don't care. Forget the final score against Citadel. What do you want me to tell? Okay, here. You outcoached the Citadel. That's what happened. You did not outplay them, okay? You did not outplay them. You made better adjustments at halftime than the Citadel did, okay? But in the first half, the Citadel went toe-to-toe with Alabama and tied you 10-10. The Citadel, a 4-win FCS military school. Sad, embarrassing. I moved you down to number 2. Don't worry, you play the Barn this coming week. So we'll see. I mean, is the Barn better than the Citadel? It's close. It's close. But you'll be expected to win that game against the Barn. They've struggled. What are they? Aren't they 7-4? I believe they are. 7-4. You'll be expected to win that game, but these Iron Bowl games, weird things happen. Everyone will be watching this game. Don't worry, Gumps. Everybody will be watching. But listen, you can't come out and struggle for 30 minutes against something called the Citadel while Clemson turns around and mollywops somebody 35-6, a Power 5 team. I'm sorry. I know it was Duke. I get it. It was Duke. But Duke's going to be an 8-win team, okay? So Clemson dominates an 8-win team, 35-6, a Power 5 team. You struggle and look like absolute poop for 30 minutes against the Citadel. Deal with it. Bama at number 2, Taters at number 1. They get South Carolina at home this week. Holy moly. Hey, what's been the score of the South Carolina-Clemson game over the last 2 years? I picked South Carolina to win that game last year. Yeah, Clemson was a huge favorite, but South Carolina was playing pretty good football at the end of last year, and I just had a feeling. It made me look like an idiot. I can tell you right now that won't be happening again. If you're waiting on the SEC preview for this week to find out who UNCLELOU's picking in the South Carolina-Clemson game, then you haven't been paying attention. Taters will roll big in that game without a problem. I haven't looked at the spread yet, but I don't think anybody on planet Earth, much less here on LouTube, will be surprised if the Taters beat the Boom Chickens by 3 touchdowns plus. And I have a feeling that's about where the line will be, 21-24 points. Anyway, that's the top 10. Type on it if you need to, and have a great morning.